They say Disneyland is the happiest place on Earth, but underneath all that magic and joy lies something a little more sinister. From mysterious ghostly sightings to rumors of real human remains throughout the park, here are 8 spooky urban legends about Disneyland. Number 8. Heart Attack in the Haunted Mansion. There are many attractions in Disneyland that keep people coming back for more. One of the most popular attractions is the Haunted Mansion. This legendary tour through this spooktacular manor is filled with all sorts of scares that are meant to scare you in the most fun way, but also have your head on a swivel for what might pop out next. During the holidays, starting with Halloween through Christmas, they decorate the mansion to one of the beloved Disney classics, Nightmare Before Christmas. However, while this place was built to give you thrilling goosebumps and such, there are some who have stated that the opening of the Haunted Mansion was not without a few hiccups, in the worst possible way. Years ago, before the mansion was opened in 1969, there was a preview event held for select members of the public by Walt Disney himself. It was a test in a way to see if the ride would hold up to how Walt Disney's imagination wanted it to go. It's not an uncommon thing to do. It's a practice amongst amusement parks to help ensure that the rides are close to perfect before they even launch, which in this case turned out to be a very good idea. The urban myth of the Haunted Mansion states that not only was the ride scary, it was frightening enough to cause one of the riders testing it to suffer a heart attack. The heart attack was said to be fatal, and this man died inside the Haunted Mansion. Now obviously, this wasn't the way things were supposed to go, and thus Disney had no choice but to postpone the opening of the Haunted Mansion. The scary factor had to be toned down drastically if there were to be any kind of success. Should this story be true, that would mean that the Haunted Mansion that we have now is not the original, but a less chilling and intimidating adaptation. Number 7. Mr. Oneway. Let's move on now to one of the most popular rides in any Disney park, Space Mountain. This roller coaster has been a go-to ride for roller coaster lovers and just about everyone who comes to enjoy the park. The popular ride is rumored to be haunted. Over the years, multiple people have reported seeing a mysterious ghostly figure of a man standing next to them in line and also sitting in an empty seat next to them during the ride. He's been described as a large man with red hair and a red face. Now, while the ghost doesn't have an official name, he does have a rather haunting nickname, as he's been dubbed Mr. Oneway. He's called this because while he's seen on the ride when it starts, he always vanishes before it ends, only going one way. Who is this mystery ghost? Some say that he is the spirit of a man who died on Space Mountain in the 70s. As if riding the roller coaster through the dark isn't frightening enough, the experience for this person was truly a nightmare. At the end of the ride, they were feeling so ill that they were unable to get out of their seat. Mr. Oneway keeps popping up in rider accounts, so one has to wonder if he's real, or if this is just another legend meant to hype up the ride. Either way, pretty creepy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more videos like these. Number 6. The BellHop Ghost. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is one of the most famous rides in the park. One of the things Disney has done to sell the feel of the ride is to make sure that it feels like the infamous hotel where things have been known to go wrong. Everything about this ride is set to give you chills. You ride the elevator up the tower and then your stomach drops and screams are let out as the elevator releases itself on the 13th floor. In this tower, you will see ghosts here and there that are supposed to be part of the attraction, but legend has it that there is a real ghost haunting the ride as well. Years ago, one of the bellhops working on one of the 4 platforms suddenly dropped dead for reasons unknown. Ever since that happened, there have been strange sightings of his ghost. He doesn't harm anyone, but he has been known to show up on security cameras. He also likes to play tricks by freezing up the ride and making lights flicker when they're not supposed to. At the end of each night, the bellhop working each platform rides through the ride to make sure the attraction is running as it should. Cast members say that they always do the first 3 platforms and then all ride together for the last one where he's haunting. So if you go to the Tower of Terror next time, be on the lookout for a rather pale bellhop. Number 5. Debbie's Stone. There's a lot of rides that you may not remember being a part of Disneyland, because obviously some of them have been phased out of the park for one reason or another over the years. Or maybe you're like me and just weren't alive yet to witness them. A great example of this was the ride known as the Carousel of Progress, which was one of the park's biggest rides in the 1970s. Then, in 1974, it went under a massive renovation to become a musical attraction known as America Sings. America Sings still had a carousel feel, as 6 different audiences would be put in front of different stages and get to experience different musical acts from different animatronic animals. There was a key fault in the system, though, because as the ride rotated clockwise, all of the walls of the ride would press up against one another. Debbie Stone was a young woman working on the ride as a performer. One day, while she was rotating between performances, she was crushed between 2 walls and killed. Which brings us to the urban legend. Up until the ride closed in the 90s, people claimed to have started hearing a woman's voice, warning them to be careful near where the accident happened. Some of the staff would hear this and felt that it was Debbie trying to warn them so that they didn't meet a similar tragic fate. Number 4, human ashes in the Haunted Mansion. This one is both a true story and an urban legend, all at the same time. Lucky you. Because yes, we are indeed heading back to the Haunted Mansion, and a very strange practice that has apparently been going on there for years. You see, apparently, people go to the Haunted Mansion and dump the cremated remains of their loved ones within the mansion itself, which is obviously rather creepy in all ways that matter. Now, the reason we know this to be true is that some of the staff have been said to be the ones who have found these ashes after the fact. Since this has been going on for some time, people now think that the Haunted Mansion is really haunted due to the fact that this place is now apparently filled with the remains of dead people in the literal sense instead of the metaphorical one. There are many reasons why this is a very odd practice, not the least of which is that while it may be understandable to spread someone's ashes in a place like Disneyland because it's the happiest place on earth, you have to question the logic of them dumping it in a place called the Haunted Mansion. Did they do this because it was a place that the people loved? That might be a reason, but that would be a lot of people thinking that their loved ones would want to be left there. Not to mention, if they were at peace with being in the mansion, why would they be haunting it as some have claimed? It's hard to say for certain, but it's creepy to know that there really are deposits of the dead throughout the attraction. Number 3, skeletons in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Long before Johnny Depp became Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, the original reason people knew of the name was because of the famous ride at Disney. It was also the last ride supervised by Walt Disney himself when it was built in 1969. It's an attraction that featured many things that would go on to be featured in the movie, including trying to get the keys from the dog, hanging pirates, and of course, skeletons everywhere. But as one urban legend goes, those skeletons are much more than the plastic bones you think you're seeing. When the design team was tasked with making various skeletons for the ride that would be displayed in places like the swamp and cave, they were told that the skeletons didn't look real enough. So, according to the legend, the design team reached out to some people who worked at the medical center in UCLA and asked them to send over real human bones and skeletons so they could put them in the ride, which would mean that as the riders went through the cave section and the swamp section, they were truly looking at the remains of actual humans. After a while, it became much easier to make fake human skeletons, as movies and TV shows would happily tell you, and so they were slowly phased into the ride while the real skeletons were apparently put to rest, though some claim that there are still a few original real skeletons still there. Number 2, Andy's coming. Let's now talk about one of the biggest things in Disney ever, Pixar. Yes, the company Disney bought to create Toy Story, Up, WALL-E, and more. The film studio has produced many different popular films over the years, but Toy Story largely remains one of their favorites for a very basic reason. It's an amazing franchise. The characters are beloved by kids and adults alike, and it's hard to not want to see more of them, which is why we got 4 movies and several TV specials. Do you remember the famous line from the movie, Andy's coming? The toys would always be alive when humans were gone, and when Andy, their human owner, came around, Woody or one of the other toys would shout, "Andy's coming," to let them know they had to get into their positions to not let Andy know that they moved. If you went to Disneyland or their other parks when the movie first came out and saw characters like Woody or later Jessie when the sequel arrived and shouted that very line, the people in the costumes would have to do their best feint and try to recreate the feeling of the toys going limp for their owner coming back. At first, this may sound harmless, but as word got out about this, Disneyland had to stop this practice because it could have hurt the people in the costumes. These people are wearing somewhat heavy and hot suits, and if they fall the wrong way, they could either hurt themselves or the outfits they're in. So perhaps it's for the best that this urban legend stopped and let the real toys do it. Number 1, The Abandoned Island. Discovery Island was an island located within the property of Disney World in 1965. Originally, it was called Treasure Island, complete with a pirate theme, and was later turned into an animal resort that people could visit and see various animals that were there, including flamingos, lemurs, and more. Disney really went all out on this one. Eventually, it would be called Discovery Island, but after a while, Disney workers were accused of harming vultures that came to the island naturally. While the charges were dropped, the island was shut down and abandoned, and the animals that did live there were moved to the animal kingdom. As for the urban legend surrounding it, a few years ago, a photographer swam over to the island one night in order to take some pictures of the remains of the park. When they did, they were in for a few surprises. The water park on the island mysteriously had its lights on, even though no one was there. There were also sounds that couldn't be explained. Some say if you go to the island, you'll be found by former Disney mascots who will terrorize you for trespassing. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these spooky Disney urban legends? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!